Thanks for staying with us. Now, family members of a 53-year-old ECG prepaid vendor who was killed at Aoshie, Bayard, are appealing to government to ban the use of motorbikes after 6 p.m. The deceased, Veronica Akins-Mensah, was attacked by two armed robbers on a motorbike. Maxwell Agbagba visited the family house and now reports.
We are currently at the scene of the incident, Aoshie Bayard. Behind me is the shop where the robbery took place. Some eyewitnesses we've been speaking to say there was blood splattered all on the floor. They also tell us that on the day when the incident happened, two women who were in the shop with the deceased were made to lie face down before the 53-year-old woman was shot in her head. Some owners of the 6 adjoining shops here we've been speaking to say on the day when the incident happened, they had closed around that time, 7:30 p.m. Scores of sympathizers gathered at the residence of the deceased. In small groups, they discuss how the incident happened. The widower, Ignatius Akins, says the incident happened around 7:30 p.m. during a brief power outage. He held his wife, who was lying in a pool of blood minutes after she was shot in the head.
And my wife was breathing, it was in the blood. Then I hold her hand. 64, sorry. She couldn't respond. So later on, then I came out. I was looking for the girls that they were working with. Then they showed me. Then I called the two. One of them called Akus. Then I said, what has happened? They say armed robbers came there. Even the girl was shivering. Then we took some white bed sheets. Then we put my wife in the bed sheet. Then we wrapped her. Then we took her into the pickup. Then from there, I was asking them, are we going to Kolebu or we are going to 37? Then they said we are going to the mortuary. And I said, so is my wife dead? And they said we should go. Before we will see, we are at the mortuary, police mortuary.
Daughter of the deceased, Frances Akins, says her mother's former worker informed her about the shooting.
I panicked. I just came out from the room. My grandmom was around, so I just went to hug her and then I went straight to the streets. When we got there, in fact, there were lots of people around. They didn't allow me to go inside, but my dad gathered courage to go inside, and then they didn't allow me myself. I didn't see my mom. I haven't seen her till now. My mom was a peaceful person. She's so nice. She's nice to everyone. She doesn't even like talking.
The scene of incidents is just about 100 meters away from this busy intersection here at Aoshie Bayard. A sister-in-law of the deceased, Angela Kwesen, is particularly incensed about what she describes as senseless killings in recent times. She wants government to ban the use of motorbikes after 6 p.m.
Using the motorbike in the system now is a horrible situation. Everybody is suffering from this motorbike thing. So I think the government police should come in for us. It should come in for us. Now, if even you see someone sitting on a motorbike, and even the person is not a criminal, you still got yourself afraid of the person that the motor that is coming. So I personally think the government should come out and do something about this situation. There's so much killing in this situation, and it's unbearable now in the nation. So we are appealing to the media to wake up and then do something more about this situation. After 6 o'clock, if you see now Ghana, after 6, everybody want to go and sleep because you don't know the motor that you go and meet and do something bad to you. Yes, our children and others can't even go out in the night.
The robbers bolted with unspecified amount of money. Investigations are underway to track down the perpetrators.
Let's stay on security. Now, take your own security into consideration. That's the advice from the crime officer of the New Wija District Police Station, DSP Joseph Eje Akopa, following complaints of recent robbery attacks at Red Top, a community near the West Hills Mall at Weija. Some of the residents are forced to relocate from the area due to the incessant attacks. But DSP Joseph Akokpa says the police will do their part by beefing up security, but residents must also take part of the responsibility.
We want to also advise those people at those areas that at least they should take security into consideration so that they don't leave their places unsecured, you know, where you need to put up barbed wires. Ensure that you do them, you know, and then find some
to protect them.
Of course, but you need to also take control of your security. It's very important. Before police comes in, you should be able to, at least, you don't leave your door open expecting that the police will come, you know, to secure it for you. You need to secure your doors when you are going out. You know, some people come in very late, and then it's also security. You have to take into consideration that the place is not very safe, because there are no lights and so forth. And so you try and then come home early a bit, you know. So all those small security things are for yourself. You know, you need to do them yourself. Yeah, because the police will not come and put, you know, barbed wires, or the police will not come and lock burglar proof and so forth. You know, you need to also help yourself out, you know, because...
Now to Kumasi, where security personnel have been deployed on the streets in the Central Business District to supervise an operation to rid pavements of hawkers and other traders. The decongestion exercise, which began Tuesday morning, has freed space for easy human and vehicular movement. Nana Sensumensa has been monitoring developments in the Central Business District and has filed this report.
It's back and forth over the years between city authorities and traders over maintenance of sanity in the city. One exercise after the other gets people off the streets, but only for a temporary period. Today's resumption of decongestion followed last week's stampede caused by overcrowding, which saw 6 people collapse and hospitalized. The streets look more relaxed and orderly, with deployment of standby monitoring team of police, fire service and personnel augmenting the KMA task force. Before the eviction exercise, pedestrians could hardly access the central market from other parts of the business district. Some road users want the exercise sustained at least at regular intervals. The traders must understand that the eviction exercise is for the greater good. City authorities must embark on this exercise frequently to make sure that the traders do not sell on the pavement.
Because I'm watching one, but many panic crime, no matter business. But when we who says city guard and I say police in Israel, on to find your money, and I say, on to find a kind of mamma.
Oh, they said, yeah, Ukraine, and your movie and a quine more the whole.
Now it is easier to drive within and around Edum and Kajetia. There are no traders on the pavement, so we don't spend much time in traffic. So what will be different in the latest action from previous one, which saw traders back on street after a short period? Here is KMA Public Relations Officer Godwin Okumanyame.
So we have the support of the Assembly. We also have the support of Nanano. One thing that we are going to do to sustain it is to put in place a monitoring team that will ensure that people who would like to come back, you know, are prevented from taking over the street and pavement.
Reporting for Joy News, Nana Asensumensa.
Now, Chairman of the Ghana Private Road and Transport Union, Kwame Kuma, has downplayed any increment in transport fares across the country. According to him, the recent increases in fuel prices is insignificant for commercial drivers to demand fare increment. We'll hear from him shortly, but listen to some commercial drivers express concerns about how the fuel price increment would affect their profits.
Price where they come because the government, they try. Because if you want to do something like you go noise or every no make you know say you want bring another fuel price. At once, no, we see no, they bring it at once. So who drivers with the tire? Yesterday, I go buy fuel, 1.5. My tank is full of. But this morning I go buy the fuel. I reach the time I want buy no, I see say they increase the fuel. So I don't understand. So the government make it try. If you want to do something, make it try. Make it know say I want to increase this thing before you do the thing. You know, because the people vote you before you come power. So if you want to do something, you can know people to make you know say I want to do this thing before you do. You see, so with the beggar, make it the fuel price, make it bring it down small for us.
And when we close from work, nothing you get. There is nothing. You take it home. So if the government, the DPRT will merge, and if they can do something bit for us to decrease for us, I think it will help us for also to, make some profits home. If they can come out with very big increase for us, we'll be happy. We'll be happy because for that about 3 or 4 months ago, the increase is very big for us. That is not enough. If they can do something little for us, I think we'll be happy.
Emmanuel Jivenu has been speaking with the chairman of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, Kwame Kuma, who is assuring passengers that there wouldn't be any increment in fares, at least not now.
We just wake up today and we hear that there is an increase. And they called me with some radio station, and I also drove to the pump and asked, and it's true that they have increased it about 0.2% or something like that. And we know that we have already with negotiation with the government, which if the percentage that we reach 10% going, we can sit down with the ministry and talk about an increment. So talking now there, for the petrol going up every day is no other well for us. So we are pleading with the government that it should try and find a way to stable the fuel destined for us. Because you can imagine that you want to go and buy some tomatoes from Techima, and you know that you have bought it about 3 cities, and you reach there is 4 cities. You won't be happy. And if the driver is buying the fuel and is having about 5 cities or 10 cities drop money, and the fuel is going up, you know that it will first is drop money. The money which will come to the driver is too short. So we are pleading with the government that it should try find a way and make the fuel to be stable for us. That will help us.
How is this going to affect your business?
Oh, you know, if you go to work and you know that you will end up at 20 Ghana, and if the fuel has gone up, you won't get the 20 Ghana. Sometimes you count 180 or 170. That it won't that well. But you know that we have already with the negotiation with the government that if the increment having above 10% or 10%, we can start down and think about the increment. So for talking about now, we can't increase. Because of that, we are pleading with the government that it should try find a way and help us for the business to go growing up. If not that, it won't help us.
Should passengers be worried for an increase in prices?
Oh, this one in say there, you know that if increment will come, it's not only GPRTU, all the stakeholders, Protoa, cooperative, and everything, you go and meet the ministry, but all of them know that the percentage which has come, we can't go and sit down and say that we want to make increment. And if you want to make the increment, it's not only the fuel. All the component, they call the consultant and make everything before you go and present it to the ministry before the increment will come. But with this increment, we can't make any increment again.
So passengers shouldn't be worried about it?
Oh no, for that one, the passengers should not worry about it. But we drivers are pleading with government that it should try and find a way and make the fuel to be stable.
You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Araba Kunsin. We're taking a short break, but still ahead, Member of Parliament's Communications Committee questions government's move to hand over an expansion of Ghana's digital migration platform to Chinese TV operator Star Times. We'll hear from him after Deputy Communications Minister revealed Ghanaians must be prepared to accept Star Times if government is to access a Chinese Exim loan. Details after this break. You're welcome back. Now, the Western Region Police Commander is calling for urgent renovation of dilapidated police quarters at Ifiekuma, describing the structures as death traps. DCOP Redeemer Vincent Dajo said there is the need to give them a facelift. This follows a Joy News report by correspondent Inathalia Kwansa exposing the life-threatening conditions under which police officers are lived at Ifiekuma.
So who's
These structures were built in the late 1920s. They housed police personnel with ranks from constable to chief inspectors. Most of these railways single cubicle room buildings have been chipped off by erosion, with some at the verge of collapse. Following Joy News' report, Regional Police Commander DCOP Redeemer Vincent Dajo visited the quarters to get first-hand information on the level of deterioration.
Sincerely speaking, the structures here are not. Technically, you realize that the structures are not police properties. They are properties that we are using because as at the time that the structures were built, and then this place was more or less a forest, and they needed policemen to be here so as to serve as a buffer zone to prevent crime. And we've been living here for over 50 years. But as it is now, what we have to do is we have come to inspect. We need to inform headquarters so that we ask State Housing to hand over the structures to us for use by the police. That will enable us at least to carry out any renovations or any other structural refurbishment.
During our first visit, officers accused the Ghana Police Service of refusing to refund their personal monies they used for repair works. DCOP Dajo denied the allegations.
I'm here to see some of those things we are talking about. My concern is that if we can, even we have outstanding electricity bills are being paid by the police service. So that's some of those things they are trying to win the passion of the people, the sympathy of the public. Because definitely if you chance to, repair the structure, and you have the requisite, the VAT receipt and all the necessary receipt that is needed, definitely you will be, the money will be. As I've said, these structures are not for us.
In Athalia Kwansa's report for Joy News.
Now, the Mahama administration officials are tonight defending the transfer of 40.5 million cedis from the bulk oil storage and transport to an account at the presidency managed by former Chief of Staff Julius Deborah, insisting there was nothing wrong with the payments. The Center for National Affairs has petitioned the special prosecutor to investigate what it says was the establishment of an illegal account at the presidency into which former board CEO Kwame Wadakon paid the said sums without statutory approval. The Economic and Organized Crimes Office, IOCO, is also investigating the issue, according to letters allegedly signed by Mr. Iwadakon. The payments were monies accrued from the security fees taken from bulk oil distribution companies' invoices to effect payments on the cost of petroleum products supplied by GOIL to security agencies. The BDCs have disputed the claim, insisting there is no such money they pay, describing the transaction as suspicious. Former Communications Director at the Energy Ministry and now MP for Bongo, Edward Bauer, has, however, defended the transaction. Joseph Opoku-Gapo has details of that. Joseph, first of all, what does Mr. Bauer say in his statement on this matter?
So he gives a background and explains that there was an arrangement for the bulk oil distribution companies to supply fuel to the military and other security agencies. But the military wasn't paying for the fuel. And so after some time, in order to keep the security apparatus running, there was a decision by government that the bulk oil storage and transport company, BOSS, which is a government agency with a mandate to help preserve strategic stocks when it comes to oil, then takes over the supply. They did it for about 7 months. Again, there were concerns about payment, but more importantly, the attention was drawn to the fact that they are not an oil marketing company, so they can't continue doing that. So BOSS handed over that assignment to GOIL, which is also partly owned by government, but then it's an oil marketing company to do that transaction. But then the military wasn't paying, and so the amount had to be paid. Eventually, there was a decision that in addition to paying for the fuel, additionally, GOIL will be paying 5 pesos on every liter of fuel that they supply to the military, and that amount that accrues will be used to clear the debts and ensure the necessary payment. And so he explains that there was the establishment of what they describe as the Chief of Staff's sundry accounts, and he says that this account is not fake and that it wasn't private, and that all monies that went into that account and the subsequent utilization of that is subject to all the necessary audits when it comes to public funds. And he concludes by making the point that it's not the case that the amount was transferred for private use. There are enough documentations to explain that this transaction actually did not result in any loss to the state or anything of that
This
sort.
5 pesos that you alluded to, there's some confusion about it. There are others who are saying that it can be, construed as a levy, but levies have to be approved by Parliament. Does he allude to that in his statement?
He explained that and says that this is something that got approval from the board of GOIL, that they were ready and willing to pay the additional 5 pesos, on every liter that they lifted, and that it's only GOIL that does this payment, which then goes through BOSS to the Chief of Staff's office, and then the payment is done. And so it wasn't a levy of any sorts. The board of GOIL approved it, hence the decision to charge them for those.
Interesting. But Mr. Bauer is saying that this is just an attempt to divert attention. Attention from what specifically?
So he makes the point that there's been instances of alleged corruption cases relating to BOSS that's come up. He says that recently there's been a situation with Moving Pina and Zoop Oil. This was actually earlier this year, and he says when that came up, this matter was first thrown in the effort to divert attention. And then he makes reference to what again he says is another case having to do with BOSS that's come up recently, and says that there is also another effort to divert attention from that, which is why this matter has been thrown up once again. But he says it's been dealt with already, and that even the Economic and Organized Crimes Office investigated this matter and invited some of the officials earlier, and they didn't find anything wrong, and that there's been a $3 million alleged payment to Springfield Energy recently, which he says is the latest issue bring up BOSS that there is the effort to divert attention from.
Very well. Many thanks for those details. Joseph Opoku-Gapo is my colleague here at Joy News. We're taking a short break for business, but coming up, marketing companies predict more price hikes if cedi depreciation persists and call on government to immediately review petroleum taxes in the price build-up. We have details after this break. Now, farmers at Inyebri in the Ashanti region say the fear to go to their farms. A man and his son drowned in an attempt to cross the Ofen River by a canoe. 60-year-old Prince Adams and his 2 children, Seydou and Haruna Adams, were on their way to farm on Sunday when the tragedy occurred. Haruna, however, managed to swim to safety. A search party found the bodies of the deceased downstream on Tuesday after hours in the wild. Their death brings to 8 the number of people who have perished in similar fashion in the last 1 year. Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko reports.
Agriculture is the mainstay of people of Nirbehi in the Achumangwabieja district. Their cocoa and food crop farms are mostly located on the other side of the Ofen River, with canoes as the only option for crossing. Survivor Haruna says the canoe hit a tree stump, resulting in the accident.
When we got to the middle of the river, the canoe hit a stump and it became unstable. We wanted to jump, but my father stopped us. He told us the place was too deep. The canoe started to sink, so I tried to swim with my brother at my back, but he was too heavy for me to carry. I had to let him go so I can save myself. I later saw my father drown, but I couldn't help because it was too risky.
In October last year, a family of 6 drowned whilst making a similar journey on the Ofin River to farm at Amadan, a town several kilometers from this area. Farmers are scared.
They should bring us a canoe to aid us cross the river. Children from other communities go through this dangerous expedition daily. People cannot continue to die like this. The government should at least construct a footbridge for us. We are suffering. Our foodstuffs are rotting away because we are unable to carry them to our homes. The cocoa we produce here help the whole country, but the farmer do not benefit. Even a canoe to cross this river is difficult. The leaders drive inexpensive vehicles whilst we stay here worrying about simple canoes. It seems they do not care about us.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
You're welcome back. Now, government continues to come under criticism by players in the media industry for its decision to hand over an expansion of Ghana's digital migration platform to Chinese TV operator StarTimes. The Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association had first raised concerns with the move, saying that going ahead with the deal will be a sharp departure from the digital migration agenda and boost the Chinese government's drive to take over control of the broadcast space in strategic African countries. Already, a number of deadlines have been missed regarding the switch from analog to digital broadcasting to improve quality. Well, Deputy Communications Minister George Ander told my colleague Kojo Yangson, Ghanaians must be prepared to accept StarTimes if government is to access a Chinese Exim loan as part of the framework agreement.
I'm sure you know how the Exim facility works. Okay, it's tied to a supplier that they determine.
So you are confirming that the Chinese are saying that the only way we get the Exim facility is if we use StarTimes?
I'm sure you know how the Exim facility works.
Mr. Ander, why don't you just be clear with us and state it categorically?
Stated that is the Exim facility, that is how it works.
So we must have StarTimes, otherwise no Exim facility.
If we want the Exim facility, we have to go with the terms and conditions of the Exim facility.
They have made StarTimes a condition of that facility?
If we have to access the Exim facility, we'd have to go with the conditions that come with the accessing of the facility.
What was the outcome of the arbitration?
Well, I think at the moment there's an MOU that has been signed for the terms of settlement to be closed. But again, it has to go through the right approval. So I'm not sure that I'm in a position to confirm what it is or to talk about it unless it goes through the right approvals.
Did arbitration come out with an outcome that Ghana must secure the services of StarTimes?
I'm not in a position to confirm the details of that. All I can say is that if we are going to access the Exim facility to enhance the network, we would have to work through StarTimes as a condition of accessing the Exim facility.
Well, the Deputy Minister conceded that KNET, which was contracted by the previous government, has undertaken the construction of the DTT infrastructure, but added that there are some limitations with the existing infrastructure. He says there are significant things to be done to enhance the network. Listen.
KNET have, I'll say 95% delivered on the scope of the contract in terms of building the DTT infrastructure, and they've done an amazing work. However, there are certain limitations with the existing infrastructure. Like, for example, there are only 40 channels that can be transmitted on the existing infrastructure. The NCA has loads of applications for from broadcasters that want to apply. There are no regional stations that are available. There's no redundancy that is available. There's a need for additional multiplexes to be put on the system. There's a need for the headquarters of the Central Digital Transmission Company to be built. There's a need for technical enhancements to be done on the network. There's a need for renewable solar energy, okay, for the network operating center to be put in place. Okay, so there are significant things that need to be done to enhance the network, and those are the discussions that are ongoing. If we receive the right approvals, of course, through cabinet, through parliament, to be able to access the facility, and then we'll be able to do some of these things. So it's actually totally misplaced for Giba to be suggesting that Star Times are going to be managing the national digital television infrastructure. It is a fact of matter that Giba is aware that in the draft DTT policy, for which they provided input, okay, the composition of the Central Digital Transmission Company's board is there, and given the National Media Commission, NCA, I mean, all these stakeholders are represented on the board. So as to how they can forget about these things that they themselves have helped us put together and start to get into a panic situation that we are handing over the national digital television infrastructure to Star Times, for me, it's a bit of a misplaced concern. I mean, there's no truth to that.
Okay, so the obvious question would be, if KNET has built what we have so far and we need more, why not ask KNET to do whatever else we need?
Well, I did say that what we are looking at is subject to going through the right approvals, and it is subject to us having access to the Exim Bank facility. And I'm sure that you are very much aware that if we access the Exim Bank facility, whoever it is that is going to execute it is tied to the facility. So there's nothing, as far as the main contractor is concerned, there's nothing that Government of Ghana or the ministry can do. So far as we go through the right process, we go through the right procurement process, it delivers value for money and something that is good for Ghana.
We've now been joined on the line or via Skype by MP for Ningro Prampram, that is Sam George. Many thanks for your time, Mr. George. You've been following this matter with Star Times even during the Mahama administration. What do you make of the minister's explanation that in order to access the Exim facility, we have to go along with the terms of the bank, which includes contracting Star Times?
A very good evening to your viewers and to you. Let's make the point clear. There's no need for this in the first place. Why did the NCA administration of John Mahama push in the first place? It was to get an Exim facility, to put in place the infrastructure, digital transmission infrastructure. Today, you have sold one block of 4G spectrum and built an infrastructure. Why you still put the license? Why loan again? Because that loan was supposed to be used to build the platform, build the DTT platform using the sale of spectrum. Money was $93 million. You the platform. Why is this still talking about the need to access an extra? Like I've told you wanted to borrow money from me at the and then someone said to you that, oh no, Araba, you know, last time you gave me a shoe. And because you gave me a shoe, I have a dress. So I'm doing an exchange with you. You've got the dress. Now you're saying that you still want to take that loan from Sam George so you can buy 2 more dresses when your real need is 1 dress. I mean, if you're a responsible government, not be going in for that Exim facility to start.
Mm-hmm. But what are your suspicions as to why government may have gone ahead with this decision to actually contract Star Times? And really, we know the company did not meet the requirements earlier.
Well, I'll make this pretty clear to you. government is seeking to get $2 billion from the Chinese. They're looking to get possibly another $19 billion, as what I talked about here. President is looking to get $50 billion from them. StarTimes is Chinese government. Now, the StarTimes have had their egos bruised because what they claimed they were going to do, they were unable to do. The Ghanaian business has been able to achieve it, and their ego has simply been bruised. They took the government of Ghana to court. They lost in our court here. They went all the way to the Supreme Court and appeal. They lost international arbitration. The Attorney General's advice at the time we were leaving government was we had a solid case, we're going to win that case again. Why this government would choose to walk out from an arbitration, only they know. My best bet is the fact that this is an opportunity for somebody to possibly get a finder's fee here or there. This is also the opportunity for government to smoothing out its relationship with the Chinese. Saddle Ghanaians with a $98 million so that they get $2 billion to do what they want to do. But you see, what they forget is that this is how China does recolonization. This has happened in Zambia. There's a typical example in Zambia where the Chinese gave facility money for infrastructural development in Zambia. They said, oh, don't worry, when we come in, we'll take a little bit of the TV space and use it alongside the Zambian government. As we speak right now, the Zambian national broadcaster, NBC, is owned by China. And I can tell you what's going to happen here. If you look at the DTT platform that has been built, stands now, $93 million US, Ghanaian taxpayers has sunk into that. Now you're asking StarTimes to bring another $95 million to do an expansion work. What is happening in the industry now is that the TV stations, including yourself, multimedia, are struggling to make overhead costs because the market is saturated. And so you're struggling. TV houses are struggling. And because TV houses are struggling, TV houses are not able to even make the payments to government stands now on the DTT platform. Now imagine when StarTimes takes over this platform by way of expansion. The Ghanaian TV stations are unable to pay. What StarTimes is going to say is that since Ghanaian stations are unable to pay and government is unable to service the facility because the stations are not paying, we're going to take over the infrastructure by way of collateralizing the infrastructure to defray the loan. That's exactly what has happened in China. So I can assure you down the line, we're going to see a situation where StarTimes is going to come in and say that they want to put in encrypted boxes and make free-to-air TV, as we know today, pay TV, and they're going to price people like multimedia out. Because right now, when the platform becomes a StarTimes platform, because government defaults the payment of this loan, you're going to see that StarTimes takes over the infrastructure. Multimedia is going to be a competition to StarTimes, because StarTimes is also a content producer. So what do? They're going to price the likes of media, the likes of EIB, the likes of Media General. They'll price you out of the market, and then you get back. I'm standing on the side of Giba and fighting for the protection of Ghanaian local content.
On for me, we have also in the studio Gloria Hiaji, who is Executive Secretary of the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. Many thanks for your time, Gloria. Now, Mr. George was talking about the impact this will have if indeed government goes along with StarTimes. You said this will negatively impact broadcasting in the country. Explain to us how this would happen.
Thank you very much for having me on. Good evening to you and to your listeners. Right. The impact of StarTimes coming on board is multifaceted. In the first place, the minister talked about StarTimes bringing in set-top boxes and granting some communities 20 free channels and 20 households on a 6-month offer to view TV for free. After the 6 months, then what happens? Bear with me if I say that the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, the 1992 Constitution in Chapter 12, enshrines on us that there should be no impediment to information, no impediment to freedom of speech, and no impediment to media. Okay, so if these set-top boxes are brought in, it means that there's a condition that at the end of the 6 months, if the consumer so wishes, that consumer will be required to pay an amount of money to be able to continue watching TV that is putting an impediment in the way of the consumer to access information. And this is going against the Constitution of Ghana. Right. Moreover, for Start Times, we had on the floor of Parliament on 27th July, if I'm not mistaken, either 25th or 27th July, if I'm not mistaken, Parliament granting tax waivers to Start Times to import equipment and machinery. We do not know what kind of equipment or machinery Start Times is bringing in. But if it is for the broadcasting, then why didn't government grant such tax waivers to other TV operators who had to import equipment in to be able to broadcast their content to consumers? Aside that, for Start Times to be providing boxes with conditional access, the conditional access is what will grant them the ability to get information if they are able to pay. Then it means that they want to operate a pay TV system. And the National Communications Authority in the country has a process for granting authorizations. So all Start Times has to do is to apply to the National Communications Authority to get the license to be able to operate as it wishes.
Now, you indicated that a lot of the issues, you are in the dark, or Giba is in the dark with a lot of the decisions that are being taken. But the minister had indicated that Giba is represented on the Central Digital Transmissions Board. So if you are represented on this particular board, do you raise these concerns of the board?
To the best of our knowledge, that board is yet to be set up. It has not been set up. The last stakeholder engagement we had with the Ministry of Communications was on 12th February of this year, 2018. Since then, at least, Giba hasn't been invited to any stakeholder consultation. So if there has been any development, we are completely in the dark. We do not know anything about it. And for the government to be able to do anything with the DTT, it has to consult stakeholders because everybody is involved.
Now, we indicated earlier, and the minister also conceded that indeed KNET was contracted to construct the infrastructure, but it needs enhancement. What do you make of that? Does it actually need enhancement?
That is something difficult to swallow because we know that the infrastructure as it stands now is highly expendable if so required. And even if it has to be expanded, then it means it has to go through a process. That management board that you talked about has to be in place to be able to assess, together with all other stakeholders, and know whether truly the infrastructure needs expansion and what kind of expansion it needs. He talked about the infrastructure not having capacity for regional televisions. I can tell you for a fact that the NCA has already granted some licenses to some TV stations to broadcast regionally. We have Obonu TV of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We have OTV, which is also in the Greater Accra region, and we have RTV in the Ashanti region. They are purely regional. Okay, so then, honestly speaking, where lies the argument that the infrastructure cannot hold regional TV for now, when already it is being piloted?
Well, it seems like this is a done deal. Listening to the minister, he says it's going to go to cabinet, but already there are indications that we're picking up that this is something that is a decision that has already been taken. What is Giba going to do in the light of this?
In the light of this, the instruments that are available to us, which enable us talk, that is what we are going to use. We are just going to continue talking and drawing people's attention to the issues as they are right now, because we've got the facts that we can prove. And there are other stakeholders we know we can consult because they were all involved.
That talking is really doing the trick for you. Will you consider legal, any legal action?
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, it's talk that's going to work.
All right, many thanks. Okay, so that is Gloria Hiaji. She is the Executive Secretary of Giba. Earlier, we heard the MP for Ningo Pramprama, Sam George, on this matter. You're still watching Joy News Prime. I'm Araba Kumsin. We're back. You're welcome back. Now, more as some landlords have been defending their actions. High rent advances discourage many from seeking shelter in decent homes. Landlords are demanding as much as 2 years of advance payments. As we get ready for the Joy News Western World Properties Habitat Fair this weekend, we put the spotlight on the phenomenon. Maxwell Baba has more.
Sounds from a pub in one of the alleyways at Mamobi. I've met David Kondo. David usually sits here to chat with his friends after work. Today, the subject matter is high rent advance. Some weeks ago, David was denied a room at Medina because he was unable to make the upfront payment of 2 years of his monthly rent.
I went to a place at Medina. They asked me to pay 2 years. And a month is almost, 300. Which times 24. Come on. So I couldn't afford it. I have to use that money for different things altogether. And even where I got and I'm living, he also said, no, I should pay the same 2 years. He was even demanding for 3 years. And I said, I don't have it. Yeah. So I manage it and I'm here. I work with a good company who take good care of me. I wouldn't say the company is not good, but you have to see, you look at your wife, your children, and you understand the expenses you will do. Before raising that money at the end of the month, how much are you going to pay for light bill and those stuff?
Frank Leke. About 200 meters away from where David lives is Franklin Leke. Franklin has rented out some of his apartments. He says some tenants are unwilling to make additional payments when their rents expire.
The tenants, mostly, if you rent a place for them, for taking advance for 2 years, and if, let's say, the advance is finished, and you tell them they should give you extra 2 years or 1 year, they'll be struggling with you. And in fact, if you are trying like this, you can never sack them in a room.
Housing Minister Samuel Atachia on the floor of Parliament sometime last year stated his outfit is determined to enforce a new rent law to protect vulnerable tenants.
When passed into law, a new rent act will ensure that the rights of vulnerable tenants are safeguarded, and also real estate developers are not discouraged from investing in rented housing. Addressing the housing needs of the poorest and most vulnerable, especially women, youth, and those who live in slums, must be a priority to the developmental agenda of our dear nation.
The bill, if approved, will require tenants to pay between 1 month to a year's rent advance instead of the initial 6 months in the existing rent law.
Now let's go back to our earlier story about government's decision to hand over Ghana's digital migration platform to Chinese operator Star Times. My colleague Daniel Daze has been engaging officials of KNET on how to expand the DTT facility.
We need to be able to see how we are faring, to assess the performance of the network as it operates. So we have monitors for the various elements, the output of the head end itself, the contributions coming from the broadcasters, how we have them, and then what goes out. Apart from that, even the link network that brings the content, and that also sends the distribution to the remote sites. We should be able to see what is happening at the remote sites. So when we go to the monitoring room, you'll see that bit of it. So the very functional units here are 3. This multiplexing, then we have conditional access, which I'm sure you will know the importance. There are occasions when we need to protect the feed. As you will know, we are using satellite for distribution, and satellite, the footprint will be in maybe the whole of West Africa. FIFA will say that we don't want this feed we are giving Ghana to go outside the territory of Ghana. So what do? It means that you have to encrypt so that you be able to decrypt at your transmitting sites and then transmit to your people. So we have that.
With the conditional access room, it hides the information from places you don't want it to go.
That's right. You will need to have, if it is a smart card, you will need to have that. You have to have a certain decoder to be able to decrypt, and it helps. In digital, it is more acute to offend rights, content rights than in analog. So we are expecting a lot of this as we begin to do the business.
So let's do a summary of what you've shown us, so that, because you were sounding a bit technical during the demonstration. Here in the multiplex machine, you were mentioning that each of these 8 devices here has...
There are 5.
Sorry, each of these 5...
Plus 1.
You were saying that each of these 5 devices here houses 8 channels like Joy News on TV.
Yes.
Okay. And this is an extra channel. It is an extra device that can also have 8 channels in there.
That also has.
Good. So that means that here we have 48 channels.
That's true. But we are using 5 in the main and the 1 to back up.
Where is the capacity for this to expand, to take more channels?
You can see that there are more spaces that are blank. So we only have to introduce more encoders, more of these. If we introduce 1 more, as you said, that means we can have another 8 channels. We introduce another, so we can expand. We have left those spaces for that reason. The expansion is there because there's a rack space for that. You don't need so much more to do this kind of expansion.
So that's Daniel Dazi speaking to Oscar Incho. He is an official of KNET explaining the DTT infrastructure there. For more on that, join Daniel on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM on radio. Well, that's how we wrap up the news today. My name is Ara Bukumsen. From me and the rest of the team, thank you for joining us. We're back again tomorrow night.
This is Joy News Prime.